Hello everybody and welcome to Quick Win Standards. All right, so this is our first lesson today in Quick Win Standards. Today is just going to be, I'm just going to be talking about getting started with lead sheets, talk about what a lead sheet is, all of that kind of stuff. Some of this stuff you've probably already heard, but I'm going to also give you some, an idea of like what it is that we're going to be doing in this course and why the course will really actually be really good for you. All right, so first of all, we're going to cover these 7 things. What a lead sheet is, why we use them, chord roots versus chord symbols, how to play a lead sheet effectively, how the course is structured, the repertoire challenge, and then also going wide versus going deep. All right, so let's get started. Oh, and by the way, you will be able to ask your questions as well. So I will be answering questions at the end, but if you have questions as we go, please do not raise your hand. I'm not going to call on anybody. And please do not submit your question via chat. Instead, use the Q&A button. That will keep all the questions organized. All right, so first of all, what is a lead sheet? I'm not sure if I have one actually handy in front of me. I don't. But a lead sheet is typically when you have a melody and chord symbols, and it's typically just one line of music. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find one real quick here. Just to kind of show you what a lead sheet looks like. Now, we see lead sheets a lot as jazz musicians, all right? So here we go. If we take a look at this, here's a lead sheet for Amazing Grace, all right? So just something very simple. It basically, you have your chord up here and you have your melody, and then that's it, right? So you create your own arrangement right off of that. Here's an example, like this is like what you'll see out of the real book, stuff like this. So sometimes it's kind of a handwritten look like this. Other times it is a printed look. But it's typically when you have a melody and chords above that melody without a written accompaniment. Now, we use those lead sheets for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it makes it easy for us to be able to put like all these lead sheets into like a big book, right? Because the lead sheets do not take up, a lot of space. It's just one page, sometimes even half a page per lead sheet. It also allows players to be able to create their own arrangements. So that means that you could bring a lot of songs with you to the gig, okay, or have a lot of songs in your library, and also it gives you the freedom and flexibility to be able to create your own arrangements for the song. All right, so now when looking at a lead sheet, we got to be able to decipher between the chord root and the chord symbol, and you're going to see how this is going to become very important as we go along with our 6 quick win standards. And I'm going to talk more about the quick win standards in a little bit, but this concept, being able to find the root of the chord, really, really important. All right, so the chord root is the letter and accidental, the sharp or flat furthest to the left. So if we take a look at a couple of different chord symbols here, this first one, all right, this would be a B flat minor 7. So B flat minus sign 7. So the chord root is B flat, and the chord symbol is the minus 7. Here, this is a B flat minor 7 flat 5, right? So here, the chord root still is a B flat, and the chord symbol is a minor 7 flat 5. This one, this is typically confusing for students because some students will read this chord symbol as B flat 7 versus B flat 7, right? So this is a perfect example of how the root and if you have a sharp or flat right next to that root, they are tied together. So this chord symbol is not a B flat 7, so it's not a B chord with a flat 7. No, it is a B flat 7 chord, okay? So B flat 7, not a B with a flatted 7, it's a B flat 7. This one, it's a B flat major 7th chord. So the triangle 7, that's the chord symbol, the B flat is the root. Well, what about this one? B7 flat 9. The chord root here is B, all right? So it's a B chord, and then the 9th is flatted, right? And that's typically not how we would play that chord, but anyway, just so you can see all the chord tones and then the flatted 9th there. Okay, so So that's a B7 with a flat 9. Really, really important to be able to know and be able to decipher quickly the chord root versus the chord symbol. Because if you can't get the root of the chord, well, everything else is pretty much, game over. Because the root motion is very important in a song. Okay, so this is a super important concept to make sure that you understand this. Now, to effectively play lead sheets, you basically need two things. You need a strong, solid melody. All right, and when I say strong, I don't mean that it's played loud or forcefully. I mean that you know the melody. All right, so if we're gonna do like Ain't Misbehavin', all right, so like you know the melody. You don't have to play it. You don't have to play it really loud, okay? But you have to make sure that it's not this. Right? If you're kind of hunting and pecking around with the melody, no good. So the very first thing you got to make sure you're doing when you're playing any kind of standard is to make sure that you really get down the melody. Now, you might say, wait a second, Willie, I'm just going to be singing the melody. Absolutely fine. If that's the case, then whatever chords you can play in the right hand, you have to make sure those then are really steady and strong, meaning that you want to play like, right? If you're doing that kind of stuff, then there's no way you're going to be able to sing over it, okay? So in the right hand, you're typically going to be playing chords if you're going to accompany yourself while singing, or you're going to play the melody if you're just playing the arrangement of the song. Notice I'm saying just the melody. I'm not talking about adding in any other notes underneath the melody. You always start with that melody first and make sure that that's strong. And then the other thing is a solid accompaniment, which is typically the left hand. Now, I am generalizing here, okay, to make it a little bit easier for you in that I'm saying, okay, the melody you're going to be playing with the right hand, and you want to make sure you get the melody down nice and solid. The accompaniment is going to be with the left hand, but we know that, music is not so black and white like that. And, there are obviously, as you get better and as you move on in your lessons, you could do different things like playing the melody with the left hand, So anyway, though, for right now, this makes it a little bit easier to kind of just make sure you're on the right track. So make sure you get a strong melody in the right hand and make sure that the accompaniment in the left hand is solid. That means that if you're playing block chords, triads, roots, whatever it is, you're playing it and you know what to play. Again, if I'm playing like Ain't Misbehavin', it's not like... Right? Who wants to listen to that? Nobody wants to listen to that. So if there's any hunting and pecking going on, and that's like, trying to figure out what notes you should be playing, then that means that you really need to focus on that, all right? So to play that lead sheet, strong melody, strong accompaniment. Now, the melody is the melody. You just learn it. There's really nothing more to it than that, all right? So like fingering-wise, you got to figure out the best fingering for yourself. Now, that might be frustrating, especially if you're used to reading music. Like, hey, why isn't the fingering written out for this? Well, it just isn't, all right? It typically has never been. I have never seen like jazz fake books or just fake books in general that have the fingering for the melody written out, all right? So it's just something you have to learn. And the melody, you just play it, all right? There's nothing more that you really have to do with it other than just play it as is. As you go, you want to like feel a little bit more comfortable with the rhythm and everything, but just start by playing the melody. You don't have to embellish. You don't have to worry about, neighbor tones or anything like that. You just play it with just a nice, solid rhythm and solid dynamic. So if I did Ain't Misbehavin' again. Okay, so just playing the melody, nice and solid. Right, so I don't have to worry about, right, those little flares and stuff like that. I don't have to worry about that when I first get started. Okay, now the accompaniment does not need to be fancy. This is super important. Okay, so as long as the melody is played strong and the accompaniment is played steady, you're good. All right, so I'm going to show you ways in this course in which you can literally play single notes in the left hand or octaves. Listen to what happens. Like if I do like, right, so I could do all that, the full chords and kind of stridey feel and stuff like that. Yeah, sure, but a lot of times that's a real pain to get there, right? It takes a lot of practice. And you might say like, oh, that's what I'm looking for is to get that big full arrangement. But guess what? Listen to what happens when I play it like this. That's just single note roots in the left hand and the melody in the right hand. But do you hear how it's played steady? It's played strong. I know what the melody is. I know what the chords are. So I'm able to put them together and it's strong. You can't get more simple than that in the left hand. I'm literally playing one note in the left hand, one note in the right hand. But if it is pulled off well with good rhythm, good dynamics, you know, and playing it like I mean it, like not like I'm not afraid of it, but I'm also not like not super stiff. It's just nice and relaxed because I know the melody and I know the accompaniment. So as long as you can do that, you can pull off a song with a very simple arrangement. The accompaniment does not need to be fancy. All right, so let's talk about how the course is structured. Everybody is welcome to attend all of these lessons live, regardless of your membership status or your playing ability. All right, so if you're an absolute beginner, there's going to be stuff for you. If you're an advanced level player, there'll be stuff for you as well. I'm thinking of this course being more in about the intermediate range. It's not absolute beginner, but it's also not, pro advanced, like, reharmonization and all of that. What I'm going to do is, my goal is I'm going to teach you two different arrangements. The first arrangement is going to be very, very simple, like very beginner level arrangement. But again, use the word beginner, and think of that with a grain of salt, all right? Because it might still be a little bit of a challenge if you're brand new to the piano, all right? So I'm really going to be thinking that like, you've kind of played around a little bit, maybe have like a year of piano under your belt. Then I'm going to show you more of an intermediate level arrangement, which is going to be more like you're going to notice that the arrangement is going to sound a little bit, a little fuller. All right, there's going to be more to the arrangement, which of course is going to make it a little bit more challenging to learn. But the goal is to be able to learn both of those arrangements all in one day. All right, I'm going to teach it to you all in one day. And then if you're at that level, you probably should be able to figure out and be able to play the song in about a day, maybe 2 days. That's the whole idea behind quick win standards. Now, let me pause for a second and explain what I mean by quick win standards. First of all, as I already said in the emails and marketing material, when I think of a standard, I think of a song that like a lot of people know. I don't think that it's necessarily just a jazz tune. Some people will think of it that way. If that's the way you think about it, absolutely fine, whatever. Let's move on, and we're not going to debate the word standard, okay? But I'm just thinking for this course that it's really all about learning songs that people might know, like Blueberry Hill, Bye Bye Blackbird, that kind of stuff, Just the Way You Are. So like these are songs that are not necessarily jazz standards. Some of them might be more rock pop. Some of them might be, whatever, all right? So you're learning songs that, a lot of people will know. Now, the quick win part of this is, I notice that a lot of times students will really spend a lot of time trying to create an arrangement of one song, okay, and it takes months. And then they go to move on to the next song, and what happens if they don't practice that original song that took months, if they don't keep practicing it over and over and over again, poof, they forget it, and it goes away. And there is a reason behind that. It goes away because what locks music into your brain is theory. Whoa! I know that word. It's a dirty word, isn't it? Theory, right? But The more that you understand the way that music is structured and made, and the way that accompaniments are made and arrangements are made, the more that you're going to remember it, okay? So like if you just memorize facts and you have no, there's no skin in the game with those facts, it's just facts. You're more likely to forget them than if you're actually immersed in the thing that you're trying to learn and memorize, and you really start to understand it at a deeper level. That's what we're going to be doing here with the quick win standards. Just trying to make it so that you take these concepts and move them to the next song quickly so that you can master the concept, not master the song, okay? So the goal is you're going to learn 6 standards by the time that you get to the end of this course. However, it's not about learning the 6 standards. It's about learning how to play them quickly, all right? Quick win. All right, so recording sheet music resources will only be available for full JAZZEDGE members. If you're a Oboe Piano member or a free member, then you can still join live, but you won't have access to the resources and the recordings. All right, Tuesdays are going to be the lesson day. So tomorrow, I'm going to teach you Blueberry Hill. Okay, you have the full schedule right in the email that was sent to you, so you know what days, which songs are going to be taught. And on Thursday, this is the day for practice and questions. So I'm going to open up Thursday. Hey, does anybody have any questions? It's still going to be the same format, so you'll need to chat in your question. So I suggest that if you're going to join on Thursdays, maybe like you kind of have your question already written out, you can kind of copy it and paste it right into the Q&A area, and I will answer your question, okay? You can also record a video, send in a link of that video. I suggest using YouTube Unlisted. Send me a link to that video, and then I will play it during the session and then give you some feedback on it, right? So this is a great way for you to actually have some interaction with me, again, regardless of membership level. All right, the repertoire challenge. Repertoire, all right? So this I took right from Google, a stock of plays, dances, or pieces that a company or a performer knows or is prepared to perform. Basically, repertoire is what songs do you know? So if I said to you, hey, sit down and play, all right? I want to listen to you play. What are you going to sit down and play? Repertoire is, in my opinion, one of the most important things at the piano, okay? I believe at the end of the day, we all want to play and listen to songs that we know instead of snippets of songs or exercises. I really think that the reason that we play the instrument is, well, number one, to express ourselves, right? We're able to express ourselves here differently than just through words or other forms of expression, right? Like other forms of art. So that's the first thing, express yourself. But then how do you express yourself? Now that could just be as simple as like, right? So I mean, I could do that and kind of put some chords together, and then you might be like, all right, well, that's cool. What is it? Well, I don't know, I just made it up. Okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, all right? I find, though, that most people don't want to hear stuff like this. Right? Because it's like, all right, well, you kind of started to play part of a song, but then you never really finished it. You only played just a little snippet of it. Now, I know when I was first starting out that I had a lot of those. I had a lot of those little snippets that I would know versus knowing a full song. And I remember my dad used to teach me piano up until I was about 14, and I would always say to him, I want to learn songs that people know. I want to learn songs. Because people would ask you, hey, can you play something? And you play this little... And they're like, all right, yeah, cool. Well, what else do you know? Because they're looking for something that they can, that they know, So then, as soon as you start to play songs that people know, then it's like, oh, okay, I get it. I know that tune. I'm familiar with that song. I enjoy that, all right? So that's what we're going to be doing in this course, is learning 5 tunes so that you could quickly, or actually 6 tunes. We're going to be learning 6 songs that you could quickly bring into your repertoire. Now, whether you like the songs or not really doesn't matter, all right? What really matters is that now you have 6 more songs that you could bring into your repertoire quickly if you want to. All right, so let's talk about this. This is a really important concept, and I go into this in much more detail in my 12 Days of Jazz Standards lesson. Okay, you could find that right on the JAZZEDGE website. So if you're interested in that, just do a search for 12 Days of Jazz Standards, or just do a search for the word deep, and then the chapter should come up in which I explain this. So the best and fastest way I have found with students, now you got to remember, I've been teaching online for 20 years, and I've been teaching privately for over 30 years. So I have seen thousands of students. I have the unique position in which I've worked with so many students that I have a large amount of data, and I know really what works for them and what has not worked. And what I've found is the best way for a student to lock in a concept is to take that concept and apply it to several different pieces of music. Again, remember how I was saying, like, some students will take a song and they'll work on it for months and get all these fancy bells and whistles, and then when they move to the next song, 2 things typically happen. Number 1, they forget the original song that they just learned, okay? Or number 2, they don't know how to take the concepts from the first song that they did over to the second song. And the reason for that is that, well, of course you can, because there are so many concepts that you've put into that one original piece that when you try to move it over to the next song, it's too much, okay? So instead, my concept of going wide versus deep is that you take one concept, one simple idea, and you move it in between several songs. Now, some of the simple ideas that we're going to be working on here is the left-hand accompaniment. Since we know that the melody is the melody, it's really the left-hand accompaniment that we have to kind of get together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be showing you in these 6 songs a bunch of different accompaniments that you can use, that then you could take them and apply them to several different songs. But this concept I'd like you to really kind of keep in the back of your mind and really in the front of your mind, this idea of going wide versus deep, right? And this is why we're doing these 6 songs, and we're doing it like so quickly over 6 weeks, all right? I don't want to take 6 weeks to just take one song, right, and make some like crazy arrangement. No, instead, I want you to do a song a week, song a week, song a week. All right, so questions. Use the Q&A, like I said, to ask your questions. Let's see, I got a question here from Michael. The piano sounds distort heavily and uncomfortable to listen, lowering the output level. Okay, yeah, or using a compressor. Yeah, I'll have to look into what that is. Sometimes that's actually just Zoom and has nothing to do with a compressor or anything like that. And it could also be the volume level here. This should be probably, hopefully that's a little bit better. Let me know if it is. All right, any other questions? Okay. All right. Any other questions? Just checking the chat. Let's see. Donna, I looked at other piano courses. One way popular course teaches how to play many songs, but when you analyze it, you're just mimicking what the teacher teaches. You have no idea why, and that's theory. So Willie is absolutely right. So for the long haul, you must learn theory. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's like anything else. I mean, it's with education, and I'm sure that all of you have experienced this to one degree or another, and that is that, have you ever had somebody just kind of like show you how to do something? So it might be something on a computer or on your phone or whatnot, and then they're like, here, just give it to me, and they do it, and you're kind of watching them, and they're like, there you go. And it's like, well, wait a second, I really didn't understand how to do it. And well, the reason is because you weren't doing it, right? So one part of education is you actually getting in and doing it, but then we also know what's the other part: feedback. And that goes back to what it is that we're going to be doing and how the structure of this course is. Tuesday is lesson day, Thursday is practice and and feedback time, right? You can ask questions. You can, like I said, paste a link to the video of you playing the lesson, right? I'll give you feedback that way. But that's completely up to you if you want to do that or not, all right? So if you don't have any questions or you're like, I'm not interested in sharing my playing, then you don't have to do it, all right? So Thursday's lesson could literally be 5 minutes or 50 minutes long. It really depends on how many people are going to be asking questions, sharing, stuff like that. If I get on Thursday, because literally I'm going to get on Thursday, like, all right, hello everybody and welcome. This is the practice session for, Blueberry Hill. Who has any questions? And I'm going to sit here and just kind of wait and see if there's any questions. I'm going to say going once, going twice, going 3 times, and I'll be like, all right, guys, I'll see you next week, all right? And that's it. So it's completely up to you the level in which you participate. But if you really want to learn this stuff, you got to get in, you got to do it, and then asking questions and participating in that feedback is really a great way of locking in those concepts, right? So, speaking of which, okay, let's see here. Logan, after learning the concept, do you think we'll be able to play the song in all 12 keys? Yeah, that's really dependent upon you. I mean, if you want to learn it in all 12 keys, absolutely. Let me briefly say this about learning in all 12 keys. First of all, you want to decide, like, okay, so where are you going with your piano playing or with your music, okay? And let me just give you a couple of different examples, all right? And I'm not asking your age, Logan, but let's just say Logan is 18, okay? And Logan is like, they want to go to music college, be a professional musician, music is going to be their life. All right, then yeah, all 12 keys, all right? Let's say that Logan is 80. Right? And Logan is just like, or 70, or 60. And Logan's just like, hey, look, I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to gig. I just want to play for my own enjoyment. I want to learn. I want to keep my brain active, keep my fingers moving. I enjoy music. All right, well then moving stuff into all 12 keys at that point might not be a necessity. Well, in fact, I could tell you it wouldn't be a necessity. Really, the only reason that you would move into all 12 keys like under those circumstances is if you wanted the challenge or you really wanted to kind of get a deeper understanding. So there's never again, it's not black and white. It's not like, oh, you got to do everything in all 12 keys. And an anecdote, I remember a student who studied with me, they were telling me how they were studying at a university and the teacher would not let them move on from what they were doing until they mastered it in all 12 keys. And it took like 2 years for them to go through and master all of these exercises that they had to in all 12 keys. And it's like, whew, that must be kind of hard to stay motivated and keep your head in the game in that regard. Now, of course, that's college level, and if that's what they're making you do, then that's what they're making you do. But in the real world, what I find is usually if you could transpose into 3 keys, that's usually enough for you to be able to kind of understand the theory, the analysis, and then get the most benefit out of transposition. In other words, what I'm saying is if you learn a song in 1 key, okay, let's say the key of C, and now you're going to learn it in 3 other keys, at that point, after you've learned it in those 3 other keys, so 4 keys in total, you've probably gotten about 80–90% of the juice out of the transposition, okay? So what I'm saying is, like, to move into the other, 8 keys or whatever is really probably unnecessary. You're not getting that much benefit out of that. But again, like I said, if music is going to be your thing, like, and that's going to be your life, then yes, absolutely, you should be able to transpose into all 12 keys. Gilbert, when will the lead sheets be published in JAZZEDGE? Great question, Gilbert. All right, so what happens is every day I do the lesson. So like I'm doing this lesson live right now, all right? It's Monday, July 13th. As soon as I am done with this lesson, I am going to put this up onto the site, okay? So there's going to be a course on the site called Quick Win Standards, all right? And then you're going to see this very first lesson, getting started with lead sheets. okay? And then the video will be there. There's no sheet music for this lesson, so there will be no resources available for this lesson. So tomorrow's lesson starts at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll go to about 11 o'clock. After that, the lesson should be up online by, say, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So usually a couple of hours after the live session is done, then the video and all of the resources will be up online for you to be able to download and be able to watch. So, Logan, this concept applies to pop, jazz, blues, gospel. Yeah, see, the idea of playing an arrangement of a song, regardless of style, is really about a couple of, really just a couple of things. Number one is the way that you're playing the rhythm, okay? Is it swung? Is it straight? Okay, so that's typically like, like the way you're going to play the melody and all of that. So you have to make that decision and make sure that you understand that. So like if I'm doing Just the Way You Are, that's going to be straight. If I'm doing Bye Bye Blackbird, that's likely going to be swung, right? So it's like if it's pop or rock, then it's usually going to be straight rhythms. If it's jazz, blues, then it's usually going to be swung rhythms. That's the first thing. Second of all, it has to do with what you're going to do with the accompaniment, okay? So like doing something like this for a pop rock is fine, but for a jazz tune, you might want to do like, something like that, right? So the accompaniment patterns that you play are going to change based upon what the style is. And the last thing is, I should say a few things versus a couple because there's three main things. But this kind of goes in with the first one of rhythm. And that is, you need to kind of know some rhythms to accompany to. I see a lot of things online. There's always like, the chorus or whatnot, like, the magic pill, learn 500 songs, like these 4 chords, you'll learn 500 songs, you'll learn 1,000 songs in 10 minutes. And what they're showing you is they're showing you certain progressions. But the reality is we know that just because that progression is the same on all of these songs, well, the rhythm isn't the same, right? The rhythm is different, and the way that the song is played and the way that they're playing those 4 chords are different. So, so it's really kind of like, in some ways, a bait and switch to think like, oh, if I just learn these 4 chords, I'm going to know 500 songs. Yeah. The full truth of it is if you learn those 4 chords, you're going to know the chord progression of 500 songs, but you don't necessarily know how to play those 500 songs unless you understand the rhythm, right? Because based on how you play a rhythm, it's going to change the whole feel of the song. Like if I do Piano Man, right? If I do it like that, okay, it sounds like Piano Man. Whereas if I go, right? It kind of sounds like Piano Man, but it doesn't sound like the Piano Man that we know. It doesn't sound like that same typical rhythm, right? So, and that's okay. But when you're first getting started, if you're not playing the rhythm kind of as you know it and have heard it in the song, then sometimes it's difficult to pull it off, right? And it just doesn't sound like the song, right? So rhythm, very, very important. If I enroll in Oboe Piano, I have 30 days to try the program. This was from Anonymous. Well, first of all, one thing you need to know is that you can do a 14-day trial to either JAZZEDGE or Oboe Piano. And that means that you can get in for 14 days, you can watch the lessons, you cannot download the resources, right? So you can watch all the videos you want, you just can't download the sheet music. If you decide to go for Oboe Piano, just know that this course will not be part of Oboe Piano. This course is only part of JAZZEDGE. All right. The other thing, 30 days. The 30 days is a 30-day piano success guarantee. It is not a money-back guarantee. I want to make sure that I am perfectly honest, upfront, and clear with everybody on that. Why, you say, Willie? Because quite frankly, if you're really interested in learning, okay, well, actually, before I say that, piano success guarantee means that if you come in, you pay like the $39 for JAZZEDGE, and you're like, you know, I don't like it after 30 days, then I will credit that full amount of money so that you can download a lesson in our store, all right? So that means that you can go ahead and download another lesson. The reason we don't do a money-back guarantee is, well, quite frankly, I believe in the product. I think like there's so much stuff that I give away for free, and you could do a 14-day trial for free and watch all of the lessons, that there's really like, it's not like there's any confusion. It's like, well, I didn't know what the lessons look like. No, you can get in, you can see exactly what the lessons look like. You should be able to know how I teach, you know, and know if you like the look of my face or the sound of my voice, and if you don't, then okay, then you know not to subscribe and not to become a member. So in that regard, I find that it's like, okay, everything is all up front. So if you're going to get in and you're going to like be a member for $39 a month, if you're not completely happy with it, all right, well, then you should be able to find another lesson somewhere on the download site in our store that you can download and keep forever and then learn at your own pace, okay? We can also move that to another site. So like, let's say that you sign up for JAZZEDGE, you're like, ooh, this is maybe a little too hard for me. I need something a little bit more beginner. All right, well, we could apply that money to the homeschool piano site as well. Yeah, Logan is 63 and wants to play for friends and enjoy and have fun. Yeah, exactly. All right, so at 63, you know, transposing into all 12 keys, probably not necessary. Transposing into a few keys, definitely good. Learning how to be able to move in between standards and being able to spin up an arrangement quickly, very good, all right? Repertoire, again, this is my opinion, my 2 cents, repertoire is everything, right? So I really feel like, you know, let's say that you could sit down and you could play 40 songs at the piano, okay? Let's say you can't improvise a lick, okay? You can't improvise at all, right? And let's say that, you know, your technique is okay, you know, good, not great. You can't play super fast, but you could sit down and you could play 40 songs at the piano. I think most people are going to be like, yeah, okay, I'll take that, right? Where I could sit down and play 40 tunes. That sounds pretty darn good to me, you know, to be able to play that many songs. Absolutely can be done, all right, especially using the system that I'm going to lay out in this Quick Win Standards and in my other lessons on the site. Absolutely can be done, right? Lenny, will you also send via YouTube? The sound there is much better. I will stream to YouTube as well, okay? So I will start streaming the lessons tomorrow onto YouTube as well. And I should have done this one on YouTube as well. I didn't think about it. But tomorrow I will make sure that I'm streaming on YouTube as well, so you can see it on YouTube Live also. The lesson will be on YouTube for about 24 to 48 hours after it's done. But as soon as I do the next one, I'm taking the other one down, okay? So it will be, basically you're going to be able to see it live, and then you'll have access to it for like a few hours, you know, and then it's going to be taken down before I do the next lesson. Ruben? Oh, Michael. Will you be teaching the songs in their original keys as it was composed? Yeah, I mean, like just the way you are, I'll be doing that in the key of D. Blueberry Hill, I'm going to do it in B flat. That's the key that Fats Domino sang it in. So, yeah, I mean, like I'm going to be taking the keys. I'm not going to be doing... it's not like I'm going to move everything into the key of C, right, if that's what you're asking, right? Not everything is going to be in the key of C. I'm not going to make it super easy. You know, I'm going to make it so that, like, you know, you have some different keys and that you, like, really, you know, experience some different keys. We'll be in the key of D, key of B flat, you know, and then some other keys as well. So, yes, we will be doing the original keys or keys that performers have done it in. If you play in a band, is it okay to use the lead sheets, or is it better to memorize the music? I usually see most players not really using lead sheets as they perform, but I am wondering if some are playing by ear. Yeah, that's a great question. All right, so there's nothing wrong with reading music, Okay? Nothing wrong with that. It's not like if you have a piece of music in front of you that somehow this like illegitimizes what it is that you're doing and makes it, you know, any less, you know, impressive or expressive. I've seen players like Keith Jarrett, Chick Corea, you know, Brad Melda come out with music and have music at the piano with them, right? So having everything memorized is not an absolute must. Depending on the gig as well, like if I go out and I do a gig, you know, I might not know, like I know a lot of tunes, but there are some songs I might not know. If that's the case, I'll just load up iReal Pro or something and I got all the chords right in front of me. So I'll look at music now and again. I do find that when like if I'm going to go out with my band, my trio, and we're doing our sets, then I would want to probably memorize those songs because I find that it's a little bit easier for me to just to like really think about the music and not be visually looking at something. And Joe said, what 4 keys would be most appropriate to learn? There is no answer to that, but I do have an answer to that. So there's not like, the answer is dependent upon each person, okay? So there isn't one global answer I could say like, oh, you should always learn in this key, right? So the keys to learn a song in is based upon how you're going to be using that music, right? So for instance, let's say you learn a blues in the key of C, okay? And now you want to transpose that blues into some other keys. Okay, so now you have a brother-in-law who plays guitar. All right, well, they play guitar, they're probably going to play in the key of E, A, B, D, you know, those keys. Those are more guitar keys. All right, so then it makes sense for you to learn the blues in those keys, right? You know, if you have a sister who plays saxophone, well, if it's a B-flat sax, she's probably going to be playing in B-flat, in E-flat, F, like keys like that. So those would be appropriate keys. Let's say that you're learning a song and then you're going to be playing it at, you know, church or something for people to sing or a choir. Okay, well, depending on who's singing, you might want to find out what keys are comfortable for them, okay, and make sure that you're not playing in a key that's going to be uncomfortable for them. So it really depends on your circumstance. Now, if there's like if you're not playing with a band, you're not backing up singers or anything like that, well, then at that point, the key that you choose, if you're going to sing, well, obviously pick a key that works for your voice. But besides all of that, okay, if you have none of that going on, well, then the key that you should choose is whatever key you don't feel most comfortable in. So if you don't feel comfortable playing in, say, the key of B, well, now if you transpose 10 songs into the key of B, guess what? You're going to be feeling a lot more comfortable in the key of B, right? Right? So you want to make sure that you are working on keys that you are not the most comfortable in, right? That's going to give you, you know, the biggest bang for your buck with transposition. All right? Any other questions? Any other questions? All right? So, like I said, we will be beginning tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. We will be going for about an hour. The sheet music, resources, video will all be put up onto the site after the lesson is over. Okay. And then Thursdays, I will be answering your questions. We'll be kind of practicing. Thursdays could be a 5-minute session, could be a 50-minute session, could be an hour-and-a-half session. It really depends on how many questions you know, we have. All right, so looking forward to the lessons. Thank you, Willie. You got it, Logan. All right, so any other questions? Going once. All right, going twice. And finally, okay. Oh, nope. All right, just going to thank you. You're welcome, guys. All right, so thank you, guys. I will plan on seeing you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. You got all of the links, okay? It's the same link. Right, so just go ahead and get in and use the same link, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, thanks, guys.